Welcome back to another episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we are going to talk about obesity in the workplace.
Or being fat at work.
But before we begin, what's new? What's the haps? What's going on?
Well, I actually didn't even tell you this before the podcast started because I wanted to save it for a real raw reaction. As you all know, I've been back at the gym for a month and I've been doing the Weight Watchers points for a month and I'm down 18 pounds.
Woo!
So, you know, it's that same old, it's like it's a double-edged sword, a bittersweet kind of. So it's a double-edged sword because it's like, oh, I'm just halfway back to where I used to be before I gained all my weight back from the last time I lost it. And so it's all kind of trying to damper those negative feelings, but just being happy about loss and also not be too focused on the weight itself because I know at some point it'll plateau. And in fact, I did have a plateau about a week ago before all of this. And I just I was so mad. I was like, I've only lost a pound and I've been working so hard and I don't understand. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, the pounds don't matter. That's what you say on your podcast every freaking week. But in your head, it's hard to shake that.
Yeah.
That feeling.
No, 100%. Yeah, it definitely can be hard to shake the feeling of like, I'm not losing weight when
I'm working so hard.
Yeah.
I'm doing the right things.
Right.
Body, work with me.
100%. That's exciting though. Yeah, no, that's super exciting. And so Weight Watchers are working for you. And
yeah. And it's not been overly hard.
Awesome.
I even managed to work it into my Weight Watchers points to have Big Tide special on Wednesday.
Ooh, what was the special?
It was hash browns covered in crispy chicken and then
yes, I saw
guacamole
that.
and sour cream and salsa. It was quite delicious.
It did look good.
And not what anybody would call nutritious, but I'm trying not to refer to things as cheat meals and the whole thing. For me, I don't care what other people do. I'm not going to police anybody's language and be like, you shouldn't call it that. But for me, I'm trying to just look at food as a way to to fuel ourselves, and none of it's bad and none of it's good. It all is just food. And it's about trying to balance different things. And and as much as I hated Weight Watchers points when I tried them previously, having an app where you can just scan a barcode and move on with your life, it is pretty wonderful.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice, to be honest.
And you can see that there are adjustments happening all the time. Man, I had a coffee a few hours ago. And so instead of coming here like I usually do, blah, I'm rev to go.
Zip zooming.
Yeah, so it's constantly changing my point allocation. So I don't know what the parameters are, but I went from having 72 points to 69 points in the last month.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So what's new with you?
I'm 3 weeks into my new job. So I finally found a good spot to get a workout done while I'm at work. So that's super exciting. So I've started doing that. I have a new app that's going to tell me what workouts to do each day. So that's
Sweet.
That's nice. And it'll change it up based off of the muscles I've worked out before, which is helpful. Still got to work on my cardio. The kids I work out with are so I go play basketball. They are so much more energetic than I can be.
Yeah.
They can run up and down the court way faster than I can.
Well, yeah.
I'm so winded by the first one down the court. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You haven't done it in a long time.
This is very true. But yeah, overall it's going good. Outside of that, not a whole lot. Got to go see the Penny Blacks this weekend, which is it's a rare opportunity. They don't play in St. John very often, so that was pretty sweet.
That's pretty excellent. They've been around a long time.
They have. But they don't play in St. John very often, which is surprising because I think they're all from here.
Yeah, it's a St. John based band.
So yeah. But let's get into their topic, obesity in the workplace. You brought this topic to us.
Yeah, so my sister actually took a training course at her work for about obesity in the workplace, and they had a bunch of panel experts, and she works in healthcare. So there's a real healthcare focus. And she sent me a lot of the materials from it. And because one of the speakers is this guy who founded this website, and he's a doctor, but he's also obese, and he's made this his like, he has struggled with obesity. I don't know. I shouldn't say he's obese. I think he's, anyway, it doesn't matter. I didn't actually do too much research on the dude who was the speaker, but this website, Obesity Canada, and they address a whole bunch of different topics. And one of them is workplace and employer resources. And there's some really great stuff on this. Like, how do you discuss weight in the workplace? And I thought this was a great topic because Isaiah just started a new job. I'm about 5 months into a new job. And so it's kind of topical. And it's a really, I don't know about you, it's a hard thing to address. Like, I've been in situations where I've sat in very uncomfortable chairs and not said a word.
And we've had many conversations about chairs.
I know, but that's the thing that affects you a lot at work, especially. Well, maybe not in your job.
Yeah, I think my job's a little different. This new job's a little different because it's like a lot more physical, a lot more. So I'm definitely feeling it even more with just running around all the time and, constantly on the move.
Now, in that, have your employers said anything to you, not in a negative way, but out of concern or anything like that about?
No, not really. My office partner, she tries to get me to go to group fitness stuff because she runs the group fitness stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not like out of like because I bigger or anything. That's just she wants me to go to group fitness stuff.
She wants people to come.
But I don't do group fitness stuff. I just we've talked about before. I don't feel comfortable in group fitness stuff. I would rather put some headphones on and go work out myself.
Yeah. And to each his own. I love group fitness because I will actually finish. So this one, it says discussing weight in the workplace, when and how. And here, and they talk about instances where discussing weight may be relevant. And one of them is workplace safety considerations. Mm-hmm. So if you're climbing an apparatus and there's a weight restriction on it, it's a totally fair.
Yeah, it's kind of important to know.
Question. And next are hygiene requirements that apply to all employees. I don't
know how that falls into. Well, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that would matter. And I don't think that necessarily has to be weight related.
Yeah, that just is in general
hygiene requirements. 2, when job responsibilities require adjustments or accommodations.
Yeah, that one makes sense. I mean, because if it's a standing all the time job, maybe there's something that can be adjusted specifically to
100%. And legal obligations under human rights laws ensuring fair treatment and accessibility.
Yeah.
Now, that one is so interesting to me because for so long, there wasn't a lot of advocacy for that because it was always considered like a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. It recently, what we talked about before, it recently changed. So it's now considered like a disease, right?
Right, and we'll talk about that a lot in our next episode, incidentally.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's actually a disease. It's an illness, and it should be advocated for like any other illness. Right. But even as a large person, it is hard to advocate for yourself because I'm like 42 years old, and I don't like to put anyone out.
Right. No, 100%. I think that just goes with us being people pleasers too, though.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. I did read the what not to do's in that grouping, I believe.
Yeah.
I like one of them was, what was it was instead of doing weight oriented like challenges, what was the thing?
That's to address that's to address stigma, I think. It's like oh my gosh.
Oh, did I skip ahead too far?
Let's get
I'm
there.
sorry. I read
Oh yeah, no, it's here. Linking workplace wellness programs to weight loss goals. Like
that one stood out to me the most.
You know what's interesting is some of the times those are actually weighted in favor of heavier people.
This is true because
you lose weight
a little faster.
Yeah, a little bit faster. So it looks like a much more monumentous loss, but just the same, nobody wants to tie it to that. And we did that at one of the jobs that I had, and I didn't really mind, but it was a super weird exercise, so to speak, to go up to HR's office and weigh yourself and
weigh you every
document that. It felt a little bit.
You know what it reminds me of? Did you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
There's that episode in The Office where they're all trying to lose weight. And because they, or to win a prize or something, they're like competing against another. And like Kelly is basically like starving herself.
Yeah.
And they're not losing any weight. And they blame it on Kevin.
Yeah.
Yes. That reminds me of that episode.
100%. And they all have to get on the scale together.
Yes.
Yeah, that's horrendous. The other thing to avoid, it says, is making assumptions about a person's health based on weight.
Yeah. And we've had lots of conversations about that. Is, you know, there is some concerns about health when it comes to weight, but like it, again, we understand that there are some of those concerns, but it's not every time, not everyone that looks overweight is unhealthy, and not everyone that looks thin or even muscular is healthy. And
it's one thing, like, actually, this is all of this. Every time I read something from this, I'm like, oh man, my workplace has got this made. They are on top of all of it. Like, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like, without even me having to say anything, they special ordered a chair that fit me.
Yes.
And it's the same as everyone else's chair, just wider. So I'm not being outed in any way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and I would have never asked for it. I would have just gone with what was there. But it was the staff nurse who was doing an ergonomic assessment just as part of my onboarding. And said, oh, this chair doesn't fit. We'll get you a new one.
Nice.
Are you interested? Yep. Okay. And I was like, I would have never asked for that because I would have felt shame. And she was like, you need to be comfortable at work. Like,
true.
You're not going to do well if you're not comfortable. And then in the same token, I talked about this recently as well. We had a health assessment where she did blood work.
Yeah.
And tested our sugars and tested our this and that. And then she did measure as part of that, but in a medically sound kind of way. And it was voluntary.
Yep.
It was, nobody was forced into it. And it was like, what do you want to do? What are you going to change?
Yeah.
Like,
that's nice. I mean, my work is just all about fitness anyway. Like a lot. It's very fitness based. I do get a standing desk at work, which is nice.
So do I.
So I get to actually like stand up and work every so often.
Do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. I have a standing desk. It's lovely. I mostly put it up to if I drop something below it and I don't have to crouch too low to get it, so I don't bump my head.
I do it because like I'm up and going most of the day anyway, in and out. So it's I when I get in the morning, I sit down, but like the rest of the day, it's mostly standing because I'm not in my office very much.
Right.
Once stuff actually starts get going.
100%. And you shift around quite a lot too, and like, man, what a big change for you to go from like working from home, sitting at a desk.
Yeah.
Call center type work, really, but not like on the phones, but still like super immobile work to just up and moving. You must feel great and exhausted.
I am very exhausted all the time, especially. So when I work Saturdays, we do soccer and I coach the soccer, and it is exhausting. Like just trying to coach soccer is so exhausting.
Yeah. Were you a soccer player?
I have never played soccer my entire life.
I played soccer for over a decade. I love it.
I'm taking a course currently on how to coach soccer.
Oh, cool.
Which is cool. That was part of my stuff I get to do is learn how to coach soccer.
Cool. Run.
Yeah, run.
run. And then the third is a more obvious one, using stigmatizing language or making unsolicited comments about someone's weight.
Yeah, that's something we keep talking about is, you know, we know we're fat. We don't. You don't need to tell us.
No.
We know it. We didn't just wake up one day and go, oh my God.
What? I am? Man, the mirror is lying to me. Turns out I have a funhouse mirror at home. I just look at the camera. I assume the camera always puts 10 pounds on, right? Yeah. I must have 17 cameras. And these are like the actionable steps for employers, which again, super interesting. Address weight bias and stigma.
Yeah.
Workplace weight bias, stigma, and discrimination affects hiring, promotions, wages, and career growth, especially for women.
Makes sense.
Have you ever felt any stigma based on weight in the workplace?
I don't think I have. No,
I don't think I have either. Having said that, I guess I wouldn't really know.
Right. I think for men it's a little different. I don't think it's
that's
necessarily seen as an issue when it comes to like hiring and things like that. I think for women it definitely would. I think it definitely does. I just don't think I've experienced it. And I don't really know why. A lot of the jobs that I've gotten, I haven't, like, early on in my career, I either knew the people going into it because, like, my first journalism job, I had been in and out of the paper and they knew me. I had freelanced for them. I was already a quality known entity before just basing the interview on like me as a person and what I say and appear like. Yeah.
And then later I had all this experience and references that led to things. And like, even when I got the job in St. John at the newspaper, it was a phone interview.
Yeah.
So they would have had no idea what I looked like. And by the time I'm into more recent jobs, again, reputationally, it kind of stood on its own.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So I don't know that I don't think I've experienced it in that way. And even, I don't think I have. I know that it exists.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I'm not speaking for others, of course, but it's good to know that it hasn't affected me. The other one is offering training on weight bias and inclusive workplace culture.
Yeah, I think that part of that should just be included in that onboarding training anyway, right? Because most places do like an onboarding training that does talk about not discriminating and things like that. And I think that that's an easy tack into that kind of training.
Do you feel like and maybe I'm probably most definitely wrong about this specific, and I like that you're saying included in regular training, but specific weight-based training, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, so much of weight-related training is about losing weight.
Yep. And
in the workplace, it's like, how am I going to be healthier me? Which is not a bad thing necessarily. And like, and I like the way my workplace handles all of this stuff because it's very inclusive, very whatever. But in terms of like talking about fat bias and things like that, maybe an overall seminar like the one that happened at where my sister works is the right way to go about it. But like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like, because all of a sudden I become the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
literally.
But I think, and this kind of is, I guess, different for me because I sit in. I'm also a visible elephant in that room. Already in that conversation. So I think just including it into that conversation, I think is fine. Is we don't discriminate. It's like don't discriminate against people based on their sex, religion, race, or physical appearance.
Do you think training works?
Oh no.
Like, I guess that's what I'm driving at.
That initial training doesn't really work. And to be honest, unless someone is willing to actually learn, like your sister going into a course specifically on it, I think that training works because you are going into a course knowing that's what you're going into. Right.
And my sister, like I said, works in a medical place. She works at the hospital. I don't know why I'm dancing around it. And so there's so much and we've talked about this before, in like discrimination from medical professionals that could actually affect people's health outcomes. So there's much more reason to talk about it in that scenario than there is.
I just think I think it's just to include it in that initial onboarding of training makes sense. And it may only be to just someone didn't think, oh, I didn't think that, about not discriminating, or that I think it may be getting someone to think about that they have a bias based off that.
Right. And people certainly do have bias based on it, because systemically and society in our society, we've been told it's been a lifestyle choice our entire lives and
Sure.
well beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's only recently that it's been diagnosed as an illness or something, and not a lifestyle choice.
Right.
And, and so it's hard to, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to change people's opinions on that overnight, even among the community itself.
Yeah. I think that the younger generation doesn't consider it as much as our generation.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's going to take generations though to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are people in my family who are never going to change their mind.
Right. No. Yeah.
That's okay.
Right.
Like, you can't help it. People also used to think smoking was okay.
That's true. It's very true.
Next is evaluate workplace facilities and policies. So ensuring office furniture, uniforms, equipment accommodate diverse body sizes.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, me too. And that's exactly the positive thing that happened at my work. And I remember my first job, I had to order pants, and yeah, I could get it in my size, but I don't think I could get, if they were still operating under the same thing, if I were the size I currently am, I don't think I would have been able to order pants through work. And they were horrendous. They were not designed for people with weight. They were pleated front, tapered in pants. They were beige. They weren't really designed for women, let alone heavy women.
Beige pants.
Oh, it was brutal. And they don't do that anymore at that workplace. Like, they've moved away from it. And I understand like the importance of uniform.
Yeah. So at my work, they gave me t-shirts to wear, and luckily they had my size, because I was concerned. That's always my concern about, especially going anywhere that is focused on fitness, is that the biggest size that they have is an extra large.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, I need much more than an extra large.
Right.
So that's always a concern for me. So yeah, they had shirts that fit me, which is nice. And then I have to wear black pants or shorts when I'm actually doing gym stuff.
Right. That makes sense. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good that they had inclusive sizing. And
100%.
Our welcome package, which was really extensive and really amazing. There were a couple things on it that I was really concerned that I wasn't going to fit into, but they had sizes for. Like, one was a Patagonia sweater, and I was like, I'm not going to find one that fits. It's the largest men's size, but it's still, I have one. I can be just like everyone else.
That's nice.
Yeah. Reviewing travel policies to include considerations for employees requiring additional space or accommodations. As we've talked about before, travel terrifies me.
Yes.
And I haven't been sent anywhere with work, but like, I went on work trips in one of my previous jobs, and it was so scary, and it all worked out, but it was the lead up to it is so scary.
Yeah, no, 100%, especially like flying and stuff.
Yeah.
It's we've talked about when I was doing my traveling about flying, and yeah, it's definitely a concern. And luckily I was never asked to buy a second seat, but that's always
I'm so scared of that happening
right?
to me. I haven't flown in years because of that.
Yeah.
Because one, if I'm flying personally, I can't afford to do that. And I don't want to go to my employer and be like, it's going to cost you double to send me somewhere.
Right.
Like, I just don't want that conversation to be a thing.
That is an awkward conversation for sure.
Yeah. And then structuring workplace wellness programs to focus on health rather than weight loss.
Yeah,
that's a more obvious one.
Which I like. I think that's again, go back to the Office episode where like people were starving themselves to try and win a prize. So I think in general, it doesn't matter someone obese or not. It's the like focusing on like weight loss as a goal instead of healthy in general is
right.
Yeah.
Then it talks about, this is the last one, talks about investing in obesity care through benefits programs. A lot of coverage covers drugs that have, the newer drugs like the semaglutide, Ozempic style drugs are not covered for weight loss, but they are covered for diabetes.
Yes.
And that's really that can be a real financial challenge for people because they're very expensive and that sort of thing. And so this encourages employers to cover it.
Yeah, I mean that it makes sense. It's an expense in general, but if someone is trying to lose weight, I think helping in any way possible, because with weight becomes health issues on the other side of it, right?
Right. I think I said at the top of the podcast, or I can't remember if I said it right before we started recording. So I'll say it again to drive it home. But it costs Canada $27.6 billion annually, with workplace productivity losses 3 times higher than direct healthcare costs. That's what obesity costs in Canada.
Yeah.
That's a Canadian stat. So you're looking at nearly $30 billion. That's nearly a dollar for, no, that's 10. Oh God, why did I try to do math?
Try to do math.
$1,000 for every Canadian.
You went and attempted to do the math.
But is that right? $1,000 for every Canadian?
I don't know the population of Canada.
It's like 40 billion.
Okay. You're trying to ask me to do math. I don't do math.
Well, I could do the math.
Now she's gonna sit here and do the math. While you guys sit and wait for us to talk again. So this is the podcast now. Just
okay,
Caitlin doing math.
It's cost a lot of money.
We're changing the podcast name to Caitlin Attempts Math.
Costs a lot of money.
Yes, I think, and that kind of goes in the hand in hand with like I know it's not the same topic, but dental is important too, because it helps prevent other health things on the other side.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that those preventative measures are, while upfront costly, can save a lot of money on the other end of the
100%. And all of those things, when tackled early,
make for a happier, healthier
life overall. So ultimately, what we need to teach all of our kids to do is floss and floss every day.
Floss and floss?
Yeah. So if you're floss dancing, you're obviously being more active, and then flossing your teeth just leads to healthier.
Welcome to the last episode of the podcast ever. Wow, that was terrible.
It was great.
I don't know if there'll be another. Floss and floss. That kid do that. No, I'm done.
You'll floss and floss.
I can't even. Oh goodness. Anyway,
on that note,
yeah, I think workplaces making considerations for obesity for bigger people is something that definitely should be thought of if the workplace isn't already doing it. I think a lot of places have started to do it because obesity is a huge thing and a huge problem in general in Canada and North America,
and New Brunswick in particular.
New Brunswick, very much.
One of the stats that I read on this website is New Brunswick has the highest child obesity rate in Canada.
Yeah, so I think that's
great.
I think that
Need
is
more floss.
I think taking that stuff into consideration is definitely important to give it a employment place a healthy and vibrant workforce. And
sometimes it does take the advocacy from the person, which is not easy to do.
That's very true.
So being in a workplace where you feel empowered to speak up is a big deal, and
100%.
and it's really not easy. Like, for the tens of people who listen to this podcast, you can do your part now. But are
we doing a fundraiser now? What's going on? Oh,
I'm still stuck on this. I should be a game show host.
Sure. But I think that's it. I think we're wrapping here. I think we've rambled enough. Where can people find you on the internet?
Unless you're directing hatred about my floss and floss comment, you can find me nowhere if that's the case. But you can find me at Kate D on Instagram or Caitlin Dean on Facebook, or we're at Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook. What about you?
I'm at Maritime Brews on all of the social medias. That's my beer and politics stuff. Video games and movies. I'm on Tweak the Profit on most of the social medias.
Still tweak TWEAK?
TWEEK.
EEK, okay.
Yeah, Tweak the Profit.
Cool.
And of course,
In case people were wondering.
Yeah, in case people were wondering. And of course, we are still doing the Buy Me a Coffee campaign. If you'd like to donate, I know the Floss and Floss issue is going to ruin this podcast, but you know, and of course,
he's actually going to buy a new co-host.
This is true. And of course, if you are on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast, and you want to complain about the floss, you can make that in the comments, or of course subscribe. And if you are on YouTube or want to watch us ramble on YouTube and see Caitlin pretend to floss, we are on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, if you can like, share, subscribe, comment about your hatred of flossing, that is also very much appreciated. But until next week, bye.